Your full name, sir?
It's John.
Thank you. 210.
Seat and steering wheel and seat belt. Make sure that everything is set up. We have to wait for the last, or for half of the cars to get ready before we take off.
All red group go to channel 1. All red group go to channel 1.
I'm going to steal the rear view mirror.
Oh, you bet.
Just like before.
Is there any way to lower the seat? I'm just hitting the ceiling a little bit.
Well.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. The roof line is about 2 inches lower than the sedan.
Oh, okay.
So there is a little bit less room.
Should I roll up the window?
Yeah. Go ahead and roll up the window.
Getting in right now, so hold on for just a sec. Copy that. Try to send it to first. Copy that.
Go ahead and drop it into gear. Tap it over to sport. Actually, we've got, what, 3 video cars-ish ready. Should I wait for more?
Start commencing your laps.
Copy. And go ahead. So cruise out nice and easy down out of pit lane, staying on the left side all the way to that first apex.
Okay.
And then both hands on the wheel. And then you shouldn't have to shuffle your hands at all, just like before. You let the car track out to the middle of the road, and then out to the right side of the road where that knocked over cone is.
Okay.
And then squeeze
When we
it
take
on the
off
throttle. And then a pretty stiff brake at the 3, your first lap out. You want to establish that hard brake pressure a little bit early, and then trail that brake pressure off as you bend it in, squeezing on a little bit of throttle, out to the track out cone, into this apex. Hug the right side for a little bit, right past this gate, then turn left, back to a little bit of power, and then squeeze it on up the straightaway. And brake. Bend it in, trailing off of the brakes. Now you're off, back to a little throttle, and then squeezing it on little by little, increasing the throttle all the way out of the corner. And brake. Turn it into the left. Trail off the brakes, back to power, and accelerate down the left side of the road. And brake. Long, a little bit lighter brake for here because it's a long bend. Now squeezing on the throttle, bending it in, and accelerating. And then if you hit that turn in this apex right, you don't have to come off the throttle, you don't have to use the brakes.
Okay.
And brake for this corner, and then bend it in, trailing off the brakes. I'm going to let a car go by when we get over to the straightaway. This is a real important corner, braking, bending it in, and you want to hug the right side of the road all the way through this gate and then turning in real late. So stay off the power, but unwind the wheel to the track out, and then stay off the power just a little bit longer. Wait for it, and now full throttle. About a 5 marker, and brake. There you go. Keep that brake pressure all the way down here to the turn in, then trailing off, back to power, just a little bit of power, and now squeezing on the throttle and accelerating up the road. You want to use as much of the road as possible when you track out of the corner, get all the way to the other edge of the road. Wait for it to land, stabilize, then go to the brakes. Bend it in, get to this apex here. We're going to compromise and stay to the right side through this gate. And then this is another compromise corner. It gets a little tighter later in the corner, so you can't accelerate until right about here, and then accelerate a little bit. And then a little brush of the brake, bend it in, looking for that apex, back to power, and then squeeze it on, accelerate past that apex with the track out cone. There you go. That uses up all that road. And brake. There you go. Look in, find that apex, stick with that brake pressure until you get to the turn in. And squeezing on the throttle and accelerate off the corner. Down the right side of the road. And brake. Stick with that brake pressure, bend it in. Have to find that apex sooner so that when you get to the turn in, your hands already know where to turn in. We're going to go around again. what's happening is you start to turn in and then you look, and so then your hands don't know how fast or how far to turn the wheel, and that's what makes us off the apex just a little bit. And brake. Looking into the corner, bending it in, trailing off the brakes, back to little throttle, and just hold that maintenance throttle. Hold that maintenance, and now squeezing on the throttle, accelerating up the straightaway. And brake, look into the corner, then turn your hands, trailing off the throttle, off the brakes, back to power, squeezing it on. Lifting just a little bit, hold that throttle, hold the speed. Now lift, turn to the left, back to power, and accelerate off the corner. Brake, look left, bend it in, trailing off the brakes, back to power, squeezing on the throttle, accelerate up the hill. And then a pretty stiff brake for this corner, and brake, bend it in, trailing off. You didn't turn your head until you got to the turn-in gate. Before you get there, once you have the brakes established, look into the corner. So this is a brake turn, braking, get it pointed at the apex, now squeezing on the throttle. And now down the left side of the road, there's your turn-in cone, so get all the way to that cone, then bend it in on the power. But now you waited until you got there before you looked for it.
Okay.
So where's your next gate? It's over there on the left side of the road. Now look for that apex, bending it in, trailing off the brakes, looking for your track out, back on the power, looking at your gate, establish brake pressure here, look at the apex, bending it in slowly, off the brakes, a little bit of throttle, looking through the gate, looking at your apex, get all the way down to the apex, from the apex out, accelerating off the corner. And brake. Bending it in, trailing off the brakes, back to a little bit of throttle, we'll hold the speed. Back to the left, and now accelerate up the straightaway. Remember, over the hump, let it land, and then off the throttle. And then brake. There you go. Look into the corner, find that apex, bend it in, trailing off the brakes, looking for that gate on the power. Start looking for that apex over there. Looking for the gate on the power, accelerate a little bit, little brush of the brake just before the gate, brush, turn it in, and then now limit your speed to 60 miles an hour up this straightaway. Stay on that racing line all the way to the left side of the road, hold that speed right there, and brake. And then we'll hold 50 miles an hour, still on the racing line, accelerating off this corner. And then if we lift early enough, about the 5 marker, then we won't have to use the brakes, and that'll allow the brakes to cool off all the way into pit lane. You'll just trail off the throttle and let it coast. There you go. Keep your eyes looking for that cone. A little bit of throttle to get us over to the pit in, and then now trailing off the throttle and let it coast. And then hold 25 miles an hour in pit lane. There you go.
Okay.
That's pretty sweet.
That was fun. Yeah, it gets a little easier each time.
Yeah. Every lap you start to learn a little more and figure out what you need to do and how far ahead you need to look.
How'd you get into doing this kind of work?
Started out with Gran Turismo, believe it or not, video game. The first one, way back when. We're going to go down the center of pit lane. And then you'll just trail off the throttle and let it coast down there. Right side tires on the white line. You'll pull all the way down to the end.
Okay.
And then I've always been a car guy, so I was a mechanic at a dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Then I thought, you know what? I wonder if I'd be any good at this. So then I started wrenching on race cars, and then I started hopping in race cars. And
Oh, cool.
Off the brake, we're going to leave the engine running.
Okay.
We can go ahead and hop out.